Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to your weekly dose of college football, where I react to the latest happenings of college football via Instagram. And we've got 13 or 14 screenshots to get to, so let's kick it off here. Now, people do this to troll a lot. This first one, it says best college football team in every state. And for most of the states, you look at this, most of the states, the actual team is going to be there, like Alabama. Obviously, Alabama's the best team in that state. Georgia's the best team in Georgia. Clemson's the best team in South Carolina. But look at Ohio and Michigan. They have Cincinnati as a better team than Ohio State. And they have Michigan State as a better team than Michigan. I always see these, like every 3 or 4 months, I always see one of these, and they always put Cincinnati as the best team in Ohio just to troll Ohio State fans, and Michigan State as the best team in Michigan. I know Michigan State beat Michigan. Maybe they are better than them. I don't know. But another one, Texas A&M. In Texas, I guess at this point, you'd say they were the best team. And then how about the U in Florida? I would probably say the Gators are better than the U, but it's just funny how most of them are normal, right? Most of them are going to be right, and then they just troll specific fan bases by doing that, like triggering. And, I'm an Ohio State fan, so I think it's funny, but it's just, no, Cincinnati is not better than Ohio State. Ohio State actually faced Cincinnati 2 years ago. Ohio State won 42-0. I'm not saying they'd win by that much, but Ohio State would beat Cincinnati this year too, folks. Let's be real. Moving on, this is Oklahoma top 10 recruits of all time, and this just goes to show you how good Oklahoma is currently recruiting. They got a top quarterback from 2023. You look, Caleb Williams, Hazelwood is there, Luther Burton. So you take a look, 5 out of the 10 top overall recruits in Oklahoma are either with the current team or are going to be with the current team in the coming years. That just goes to show you how Lincoln Riley is recruiting, and they are all offensive recruits there for Lincoln Riley. They got to get the defense a little bit better. They're kind of improving it a little bit, but it's funny how you take a look. Quarterback, Nelson quarterback, Williams quarterback, Hazelwood receiver, Burton receiver, Rattler quarterback. All 5 of them are offense, receiver, or quarterbacks. Moving on, this is a tier list of the best college football teams. I thought this was a really well done list. It has Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State clearly tier 1. I would say, this is, I believe, since the college football playoffs started, I believe. And then Oklahoma right on that tier 1 cusp, and Georgia as well. And then you have LSU, kind of an inconsistent team on the tier 2 list. Notre Dame as well, kind of that last team on tier 2. Tier 3 is a little bit bigger. I would probably, move tier 3 down a little bit, shave off some of those teams. Like, I don't think Iowa State has had as much success as Florida has had in the college football playoff era. Boise State on tier 3 is a little ridiculous. I might move them down. And I would also, if this is based off of since 2014, since the college football playoff era started, Michigan should be tier 3. They would definitely be on the same level of at least North Carolina and Iowa. I know they're not good. They're not, their program's down and everyone likes to crap on Michigan, but they're a little bit better than that. College football teams by category, SEC edition, best, they have Alabama over Georgia. The worst team, they have Tennessee. I think that's a little bit overreaction. I think Vanderbilt by far is the worst team. They have Vanderbilt as a surprising team. Best offense, Ole Miss. I agree with that 100%. Best defense, Bama. Yeah, Bama's loaded on defense. Inconsistency, LSU. We saw the 2019 season compared to the 2020 season. Worst defense, Tennessee. Worst offense, South Carolina. And then disappointing team, I guess, for the coming year, they're saying Florida's going to be disappointing. I don't think Florida has a ton of expectations replacing all those players. We know how their season ended last year, unfortunately, against Oklahoma. Way too early, week 1 predictions. They have Georgia touchdown win over Clemson. I think that's going to be like a 23-17 type game. I have Clemson winning it, but it's going to be low scoring. It's going to be close. Alabama blowing out Miami. I agree with that. Just some other scores. Notre Dame hanging out against Florida State. I think Florida State could sneaky upset Notre Dame 100%. I mean, Notre Dame's quarterback's Jack Cohn. I'm just not buying Notre Dame at all this year. They're in one of my most overrated teams for the coming year. You're getting people consistently ranking them inside the top 10. I'm just not buying it. Ohio State over Minnesota by 20. I would definitely take that win. I'm a little concerned about that Minnesota game as an Ohio State fan. I think LSU is going to honestly blow out UCLA. It could be like a 51-31 type game. I do have Penn State beating Wisconsin. It's going to be a close, low-scoring game. That's going to be a really good game. But that'd be a huge win for Penn State. And then there's just some other scores. You've got North Carolina slightly over Virginia Tech. By the way, the ACC really needs North Carolina to beat Virginia Tech. They really need North Carolina to be a top 10 team, or at least a top 15 team consistently throughout the year. Potential stumbling blocks for playoff contenders. It's so funny that because of how bad Clemson's schedule is, they have to put a non-conference game on their schedule for a stumbling block because their schedule's that bad. But for Ohio State, I do agree. I think that Penn State, it is at home. The Penn State game is home. But Penn State always plays Ohio State tough. The Alabama one was also interesting because it's an away game. Most of these games, the stumbling blocks, they're going to be away. But look how bad the ACC is. Potential stumbling block for North Carolina. A home game against FSU. I mean, come on, man. The ACC is so bad. This just goes to show you how good of a recruiter Brian Hartline is. Top 10 wide receivers according to 247 Sports for the 2022 class. 4 of the top 8 are committed to Ohio State. It's just crazy. As for the other receivers, Evan Stewart right now, Crystal Ball, the current number 1 overall receiver, Crystal Ball to Texas. Evan Stewart's a really weird kid, by the way. A lot of teams are kind of passing on him. Same thing with Kevin Coleman. I don't know where Kevin Coleman's going to land up either. The kid from the West, McMillan, probably going to end up maybe at an Oregon USC type. And then CJ Williams is probably going to Notre Dame. Just an FYI on those recruits. 7 juniors to look out for. Definitely some great names on this list. I love David Bell. Christian Harris, the linebacker, is a beast. Gardner, the cornerback from Cincinnati, getting mocked inside of mock drafts, top 10. I've seen a few mock drafts with Gardner, the cornerback from Cincy, top 10 overall. And then they have Garrett Wilson there as the number 1. I love Garrett Wilson, phenomenal receiver. Clear first rounder. He might be better than Olave. They're kind of different receivers. Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson are such an interesting tandem. They're built like they have the exact same build almost, but they're completely different receivers. Chris Olave is more of a hybrid glider. Garrett Wilson is more of a speedster, but they're both near the same height. It's really interesting. Now this one, I think Nick Saban is lying his ass off here. It says Bryce Young has made close to $1 million on name, image, likeness deals, according to Nick Saban. Yeah, I think Saban's just saying that for recruiting. Maybe the kid has, but I don't think, there's that worry with Alabama. Is Tuscaloosa big enough to really attract these kids, to really have, people invest that much money into kids with the name, image, and likeness things coming out? We know places like Austin, Texas are huge. Columbus, Ohio is huge. Is Tuscaloosa, can they generate that much revenue for these kids? So Saban comes out and says this. I think he's lying his ass off. I don't think this is what I always tell Alabama fans. And this is from last year during the COVID situation. I tell Alabama fans, listen, you have 2 choices. You got to pick one of them. The first choice is Saban forced all the Alabama players to get COVID during the summer last year to create a herd immunity. Or your second option is they just lied about all their numbers. Because how does Alabama have 0 problems with COVID throughout the entire season, yet Ohio State every other week is being forced to cancel a game, is having COVID issues all the way up to the national championship game when our 2 top overall pass rushers or our 2 top defensive linemen had to sit out due to COVID issues? So I always tell Alabama fans, you get 2 choices. You got to pick one. One of the option is Saban forced all the players to get COVID last offseason during the summer to create a herd immunity within the locker room. And the second option is they just lied about all their numbers. Lied about all the tests. Which option do you want? I always tell Alabama fans that. They always get mad at me for some reason. I'm not sure why. This is an interesting one. Top QB battles. I'll just go down the list and kind of give you guys my predictions on this. C.J. Stroud has already won the Ohio State QB battle. Haynes King is probably going to win the A&M one. He was the top recruit. I'm hearing good things about Max Johnson in the LSU battle. Casey Thompson, I like him in the Texas one. Cade McNamara in the Michigan one. We know J.J. McCarthy's a former 5-star, but he's a true freshman. I would guess Sawyer Robertson maybe in the Mississippi State one, although Will Rogers is the returning starter. The Tennessee one, who knows? Maybe Joe Milton from Michigan. Mackenzie Milton definitely in the Florida State battle. Jack Cohn probably definitely in the Notre Dame one, and then I would expect Anthony Brown, the transfer from Boston College, to be starting for Oregon, and he'd be starting week 2 as well against Ohio State in that one. This is an interesting graph, just Utah versus BYU kind of talk. I love Utah's program. I really do love them. Talks about Utah owning BYU the last, 10 decade or whatever, winning the last 9 matchups. I thought that was a really well done graph. Here's another one talking about the last 10 matchups between Oregon and Wisconsin, Oregon and Washington. You can see Washington won 70-21 and then 38-3. The last 2 matchups have been really close. Oregon winning by 3 and 4 points overall. That's a really good rivalry, Oregon and Washington. Really underrated due to the, kind of it being a Pac-12. This is a grandiose picture that everyone talks about, the craziness of the 2007 college football season. Look at that. Ohio State, okay, number 1. South Florida, number 2. Boston College, number 3. South Carolina used to be basically a powerhouse, though. They were, well, I wouldn't say powerhouse, but they were a really good program. How about Arizona State, West Virginia in there? But South Florida, that's the craziest one. I could see like Boston College, South Florida being ranked number 2 overall, man. That was a crazy year. Definitely 2007. College football probably needs another year like that. Nowadays, the talent is so minimized into these 4 or 5 or 6 teams. You've got Ohio State, you've got Alabama, you've got Georgia, you've got Oklahoma getting all of the top talent. It's all fleeting there and the SEC. Those are the same teams. Also, Clemson, obviously, how can I forget them? But it's like those are the same teams. That's who's going to make the college football playoff every year. That's why they've thought about expanding it to the 12 teams, which I would be fully in favor of. But guys, that was your weekly dose of college football for the 2nd edition. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.